So in this video, I just wanted to do a quick review of the Arto EDC titanium pen from Big Eye Design. Bought this pen a couple weeks ago, it cost me $90, so it's a pretty significant purchase. And it's kind of billed as the ultimate everyday carry pen because it's all titanium and it is designed to work with basically any refill you can throw at it. I think they've tested something like over 750 refills that it'll work with. So basically, if you love this pen body, you're fit and it'll work with any refill you want. Company has a pretty good reputation, so I plunked down the cash after thinking about it for quite a long time. So I just wanted to give you my quick thoughts and then ultimately my verdict. If you don't want to wait, I would say this pen, the spoiler is that this pen is not worth the money for me. And while I like the design, I like the ideas, I actually don't enjoy using it too much. So first off, on the body, it's they don't say what titanium it is. They call it grade 5 titanium alloy and a clip made of grade 4 sprung titanium. So that's very cool. It's all machined. I bought it in the machined raw, which I think is the best way to have your titanium come. And the fit and finish are quite good. Definitely no problems with how they made it. And just like no Mars, all the machining work seems to be good. It's quite a clean build to it. Looking at it, we have a screw-on cap, a screw-on back, a cap that could post if you screw it down, and a whole bunch of O-rings. This pen is surprisingly complex. And you can watch my other videos about the pen to learn more about it. But basically what happens is if you unscrew this front piece, you loosen this little collar here. And it works just like a drill bit. You unscrew it and this opens up. You can see that collar opening. That means here you could accommodate tips of any refill between 1.6 millimeter and 3.7 millimeter in diameter. You can even put a piece of lead in there, like a 2 millimeter piece of lead. And basically, because this collar is opening and closing, it doesn't really matter what the diameter of the refill is because it's grabbing it. And then because this piece opens and closes, extends and contracts, the length of the refill is not a problem. And you could see this piece screws off, and this just has some coarse threading on the inside and a couple O-rings to keep things from rattling. The pen ships with a Parker G2 style refill from Schneider. My refill came covered in this kind of gross lithium grease, which I'm really not happy with. I contacted the support and they said it was because that's the grease that's used on the collar on the inside to give it a smooth movement. I guess that means over time that grease is going to either wear out or just dissipate, and this thing is not going to move that smoothly. So not really looking forward to that, but it's something to know about. And sometimes when I use it, I could feel some of the grease. So I don't know if it's leaking or breaking down or what, but that is something to keep in mind. And this movement is a little bit gritty. Maybe you could hear it if I move it around. No squeak yet, which I'm thankful for, but it's definitely a little bit gritty. I'm guessing it will squeak over time. I've had this pen for a few weeks now, and haven't used it a ton, but it's supposed to be like a lifetime purchase, so we'll see how it holds up. You're probably gonna have to squeeze some grease in there at some point. I don't know. Anyway, I did a separate video about how this works with different refills, just so people could see. So I won't get into that now because that's a pretty long video in and of itself. So we'll put this back. Oh, and there's a collar in here, that black collar. I don't know if it's titanium or plastic, but the pen is almost all titanium, aside from this piece, which I think is plastic. But if you're really concerned about that, you can check into that or email the company. So we'll put this in place, and this operation is a little fickle because you're inherently adjusting the tip, how far you want it to extend, while you're tightening here, which is kind of a lot of things at once. But now you can crank it down, and you really don't have to worry about breaking that, because it's metal, the tip. And then you can get this piece. You can see I got some grease on there already. Yuck. Anyway, so now you can get this tip and put it however long you want. So this pen in itself, like by itself, is quite small. So here we have it fully extended, and we'll put it next to a Parker jotter. And it's just a little bit longer than the jotter. If we remove the tip, remove the cap rather, put it next to the jotter, a little bit shorter than the jotter. And if we screw it down all the way, not that you would necessarily write like this, but just to see the full range. I know some people like their pens on the smaller side. And this gets kind of hard to grip at the end, which there's not much to gain purchase of. But it'll go almost all the way in. And now you can see that the pen gets quite small. These are 1/2 inch markings, so 1, 2, 3, a little under 4 inches. Now with the cap, 1, 2, 3, a little bit more. And actually, let me see, no. And then lastly, we'll just show it posted. So build quality is good, design is interesting. I'm not into the grease. A lot of complexity and moving parts, just keep that in mind. And I will say that this threading right here, you can definitely feel as you're writing. So it's not sharp like it's gonna cut you, but it definitely has a feel, and it's a much different feel than these, the grip, the collars on the grip. So I kind of feel like I'm always dragging my finger along that sharp screw, which I don't really like. And there's not much grip here. I won't say very little, but this section is quite small. So I tend to hold up a little bit more, and I feel like I'm always holding this grip area. You can see the pen makes use of multiple O-rings. So there, and on the inside of this piece here. And those just prevent rattle and keep it feeling nice and tight, which it does. It also means when it screws and unscrews, it's kind of a slow action, which is good. It's kind of the O-ring doing its job, but these O-rings, they will wear out over time. The company includes, I believe, 1 or 2 extras, which was nice, but you just have to keep that in mind. If you are buying this pen for the long haul, I would definitely figure out what O-rings these are and try to buy some extras and see if you can get them in that clear if you want to match. As for the cap, it is all machined titanium. I'm not sure if that inner collar is titanium or what, but because the pen and specifically the cap are all titanium, they're very light. Titanium is a light material, so it kind of makes the pen, I don't want to say it feels cheap, but it has that very lightweight titanium feel. It's not as light as aluminum, but it definitely doesn't have the density or the heft of a brass pen or a steel pen. So if you're looking for a heavier pen, you're not going to, well, maybe this isn't going to be your favorite. I've been using this Max Madco more, and this is in the steel, and it weighs, I would say, close to 3 times, or at least twice, what the titanium pen from Big Eye Design weighs. And it's actually, the Max Madco is a much simpler pen. You know, no moving parts aside from this little J-turn bolt action thing. So the Thai pen is rather light, and so you have to keep that in mind. So I guess for the verdict, big points for this pen for accommodating so many refills. I thought that was going to be really interesting to me, but having used it for a couple weeks now and having dropped $90 on it, I've realized that I don't necessarily want only one pen to handle. I like having a like this jotter and knowing what refill I have in the jotter. Then I move over to the Safari, say, and the Safari has a different refill. I thought maybe I would just get this pen and this would just be it, and no matter what refill, I just throw it in here. But that's like having your favorite paint color and painting every room in your house that color or something like that. The actual I'm missing the variation, and I don't feel like I want to carry this pen every day. Just on my personal preference side, I don't love the sharp edges up here and down here on the threading. That sort of bothers me. I don't love the visible O-rings. That's just my aesthetic taste, but I feel like they're not necessary. And then lastly, I tend not to prefer titanium. I tend to go with steel or other materials lately, and that's really just my personal preference. So it's an interesting pen. I don't think it's worth the money, and I think the actual appeal of the pen is less than it seems. I think it's just not as interesting a concept as it seems. So yeah, sorry that it took so long, but thanks for watching. That's the Thai Arto EDC, not the standard Thai Arto.